Thank you, April. You know, in light of all the comments that she made about truth versus lies, I just want to promise all of you that I will not lie to you too much tonight. In the fall of 1991, I was a 17-year-old senior in high school. I got a call from my 15-year-old girlfriend telling me that she had taken a home pregnancy test, and it said that she was. My parents, seeing me run around the house like a madman, stole my keys and wouldn't let me out of the house until I told them what was going on. So my father was with me when I went to see my girlfriend after finding out. Her parents, fortunately, weren't at home, so we left my father to tell them and took off and hid someplace for a while. When we came back to her house, my dad and her parents had a chance to weigh in on what we were doing before they left us to discuss what we were going to do. My father said that he had raised me to make good decisions, and he was confident that I could do that. He didn't know the kind of decisions I was making at that time in my life. It simply wasn't true. The girl's father suggested that he felt that the only thing that we could do was to have an abortion. Her mom, formerly a Catholic nun, looked like she'd been punched in the stomach. I believe she lost the ability to speak because she didn't say anything as she walked out of the room. But none of them knew that I already knew what I wanted. I wanted my girlfriend to get an abortion. I didn't want to appear to be a jerk, and I wanted her to believe that I'd go along with whatever she wanted. But I knew that I could talk her into an abortion, given enough time and the right words. All I had to do was paint her a bleak enough picture. You know, we'd get married for all the wrong reasons. I'd end up quitting school and joining the Army, and who wants to do that under Bill Clinton? We'd resent each other and end up getting divorced, leaving this poor, messed up child from a broken home. I remember a book that she must have gotten from a high school counselor at her school, sort of a what to expect when you have an unplanned pregnancy. And it offered two wildly different viewpoints. In the aborting your fetus part of the book, it talked about the fetus being a blob of tissue, kind of like a mole or a hangnail. In the keep your baby part, it said that your baby has a heartbeat at 3 weeks gestation. And I remember saying that it had to be a typo because abortion wouldn't be legal if there was a heartbeat at 3 weeks gestation. So we went through everything that we thought we needed to do to get an abortion, got the referral, made an appointment at the abortion clinic in Fresno, never discussed it with anyone outside of the two of us. No one tried to talk us out of it. We had it done. While my girlfriend was still recovering physically from her abortion, another girl, also 15, told me that she was pregnant with my child. Okay. She had also just recently gone through an abortion herself, and so this really caught us off guard. We were both still very much in the middle of our previous decisions, and so there was no thinking about it. I can tell you we felt like complete idiots, and we felt very ashamed, and all we wanted to do was to hide it. Fortunately, we knew how to go about getting an abortion without anyone finding out. And so we did our very best to keep it a secret from everyone. We had it done. No one ever knew, including our parents. Mine would not find out until I was 30 years old. Her parents still don't know. The second girl and I became stuck together, sort of bound together by our shared trauma. We swore off sex for what would seem like an eternity, and a semester can seem like forever when you're teenagers. But we finally decided that we could resume a sexual relationship if we were careful. You know, like they teach you in school, the safe sex, multiple forms of birth control, nothing's going to get through. She became pregnant immediately. This time was different, though. We were far enough from our previous abortion decisions that we really didn't feel right about doing that again. We were even getting to the point where we started talking about possible baby names. But all the while, we continued down this process of obtaining another secret abortion. Our situations, they hadn't changed, We were both still in high school. I'm 17, she's 15. How could we keep this baby without invalidating our reasons for our previous abortions? We had it done. So I can tell you, but by the time I was 18 years old, I was responsible for 3 abortions. A couple of years later, when I was in college and about to transfer to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, my brother, who was already a student there, he took me on a tour of the biology building, which is a very weird thing to do to your little brother who's a business major. But he took me in the front of the building, and in the front there's a display case about as long as this table, a little taller, and it was filled with perfectly preserved, plasticized fetuses, actual human beings, perfectly preserved for educational purposes, all very respectful. Some of them were quite small, just a few weeks, and you could hardly see anything, all the way up to full term, which looks no different than a newborn on the outside. My eyes locked on 9 weeks and on 11 weeks, because that's how far along we were with my 3. And I could see arms and legs, looking closer, and I can count fingers and toes. A small child walking by and looking at what I was looking at that day would say, "That's a baby." It's what you call self-evident. Seeing that made me realize that the 3 abortions that I was responsible for killed 3 babies. A few years later, married to Sharon, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight because she's ill, we're expecting our first. I was very excited, and I wanted to go to as many of the OB appointments as I possibly could. And there was this one day when it was just me and Sharon and Dr. Enlow in the room, and he takes this microphone, and he puts it on her stomach, and I hear this, vroom, 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 vroom. And I go, "Is that the baby?" I said, "No, that's your wife." "Okay, Doc." And then he just slightly tilted his hand, and I heard this, almost exactly like that with the microphone. Wow. It was just a sound. But suddenly, there were 4 people in the room. There were 3 a second ago, but now there were 4. It was like a miracle. I started feeling things that I'd never felt before. Protective, so protective. More love than I thought was capable of a human being to feel. One of the best days of my life, honestly. And we were celebrating and very excited. For about 90 seconds, when I suddenly realized that we were 9 weeks along. So I didn't just kill 3 babies, I killed my babies. Ones that I would have loved and protected every bit as much as this one. Babies that I should have protected. The decade or so that followed, just about everything that I touched turned to garbage. My marriage was a wreck. I wasn't bonding well with my daughters. Every ministry that I became involved in was worse for it. I couldn't drive through Fresno without reliving it and lashing out at whoever was in the car with me. One day I decided I would try to face my demons, so I went to the abortion clinic, and I sat myself down in the waiting room, and I prayed. A lot. I came to realize, though, that my demons were not in an abortion clinic in Fresno. They were in me. I ended up at Tulare-kings Right to Life, mostly so I could find allies in my fight against abortion. Eventually, though, I did end up in a men's post-abortion recovery group and found real healing there. And, kind of a passion and a purpose like I don't think I've ever experienced before in my life. I'd like to say that my story is unique. It really isn't. It's actually very common. Pro-choice abortion researchers will tell us that 64% of all women that get abortions face pressure from someone to abort, whether it's a boyfriend or husband, parents, whatever. 50% of all women that get an abortion will go on and have a second or third abortion. And the vast majority of the people that get abortions will come to regret their decisions, and many of them will suffer long-term emotional wounds. Very few will share this with anyone. If someone, and this is what I'd like to leave you with, if someone has shared with you that they're considering an abortion or that they have gone through an abortion, you're one of a handful of people. You might be the only person that can reach out and help them. So please, be there for them. And don't be afraid to reach out to get them some help. Thank you so much for allowing me to share with you tonight.
Thank you, JP.